First, we seek God's presence every day. Joy begins with being in His presence. Psalm 16:11 tells us that in God's presence there is fullness of joy. That means spending time in the Word, not as a checklist, but as your lifeline. It means praying honestly, especially about our confusion, our doubts, our pain. We cultivate joy in hard seasons by choosing what we focus on. James 1:2 says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds." That's not a command to feel joy, it's a call to choose joy. That choice often looks like gratitude, counting our blessings and focusing on God's faithfulness instead of only the frustrations. And we cultivate joy in hard seasons by serving others. Serving others is like a soothing balm to the soul. Acts 20:35 reminds us it is more blessed to give than to receive. When we step out of our own pain to bless someone else, we align our hearts with God's. And there's a joy that comes from knowing God can use us, even in our weakness, to be a light for someone else. Paul described himself as sorrowful, yet always rejoicing. 2 Corinthians 6:10. That's the paradox of faith. Joy doesn't erase sorrow. It meets us in it. Joy says, "This isn't the end of my story." We trust that God can weave even the hardest parts of our lives into something beautiful for His glory. I've experienced that in my own life. Times when God reminded me, joy isn't about what's happening around me. It's about who is living inside me. So here's the secret to finding joy when life feels anything but happy. Rather than chasing the kite of happiness, we must rest in the tree of joy, in the arms of Christ. Happiness depends on what's happening. Joy depends on God's unchanging nature. Joy might not always look like laughter. Sometimes it's a quiet peace in the middle of a storm, or the courage to take the next step when you'd rather give up. Lately in our home, joy has looked like the laughter George and I share when we reminisce about the little quirks and habits that Boston had and how much of a blessing he was in our daily lives. And joy for me is looking out the kitchen window at my mother's house into the backyard and seeing within the enormous space left by the now cut down tree, the baby pine tree that I planted for George and I during our engagement, once hidden in the shadow of the big tree, now standing front and center, ready to grow for decades into the new backyard centerpiece. Joy for me is recognizing that as life changes, God never does. The joy He brings can weather any storm.